This third tutorial will cover how to assemble our two parts, the side plate and top plate, how to make an assembly. So we'll come up here, and this time we're going to click New, but instead of coming down here to Part, we're going to do a New Assembly. And it brings up a little bit of a different menu. It wants us to place one part as the base plate or what everything else is going to be built around. Okay, so we're going to place component, and it asks me what component I want to use. So I'll pick the side plate as the component that I'm going to use. I'm going to open that up, and it pops up right here. And this is really not a good view. So I'm going to come over here and hit the home button to rotate the view like normal. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit so I can kind of see what this thing looks like. Okay, and that's the kind of the general orientation that the side plate needs to be. So I'm going to right click where I want it. I'm going to say place grounded at origin. So this is going to be what everything else is going to be in relationship to. So once I click that, it puts that object there. Now if I move my cursor away, it grabs another one. And I can right click, and I can rotate this about the Z axis. I can right click and I can rotate it about the Y axis. I can right click and rotate it about the X axis. I can do whatever I want to with this thing. I'm going to rotate it about the Y one more. So now it's kind of back to where we were. And actually it's kind of backwards. So I'm going to go ahead and place this one. And I'm actually going to delete it and get rid of it here in a second. So now I've got two of those. And if I move my cursor again, now it's going to bring a third one. And this one still has the backward origin. So I'm going to rotate this about the Y and rotate this about the Y. So now this set of axes matches up with my normal set. And I'm going to left click and place this one. And now I'm going to right click and just say OK when I'm done placing these parts. This is the extra one that I don't need. So I'm going to go ahead and click this one and just hit delete. So it tells me I kept one, the first one I put down and the third one I put down. So since this one, I'm going to click out of here. This one is my origin. This is the one that I set first. This one's not going to move. But I can click this one and I can drag this anywhere that I want to. These two plates need to be parallel to each other, and the little top plate goes in between there. So I'm just going to kind of move this off to the side and what looks kind of good. And I'm going to come over here to place. I'm going to place another component. And this time I'm going to click the top plate. I'm going to hit open. And once again, we already created the top plate to kind of be in this kind of flat place. So I'm going to go ahead and left click and stick one there. And I call it the top plate, and there's actually a top and a bottom. So I'm going to stick this one over here. I'm going to right click and say, OK, I'm done with my parts. And these are the four main parts. There's actually another fifth one that comes off the front, but these are the four main parts for the wheel mount. Okay. So I'm going to come in here and we're going to start kind of putting these pieces together. I can kind of select this, and it's hard for the computer to figure out what you're trying to do because this has these objects in 3 dimensions and the computer screen's only in 2D. So even though I want to try to move this up to the top here, it's hard for the computer to understand what I want it to do. But you have to figure out, is this top plate go inside of the mounting plates, or does it rest on top of the mounting plates? And I believe that if you look at the real piece on the rover, that the top plate goes inside. Okay, so it's going to go between these two guys. So what I'm going to do is we're going to start constraining things. So I've got this piece selected. I'm going to come up here to constrain. And I'm going to tell it that I want the top face of this and the top face of this. I kind of glued them together. This was the one that it chose to mate them where they're face to face. But I actually want these things to be flush with each other. Okay, so you can kind of see that this top plate and this top plate are flush. I'm going to click apply. So now this plate, I can come still, I'm going to hit cancel to get out of the constraint menu. I can still grab this piece, but now I've kind of got it constrained. It doesn't look like it, but this piece is now flush with the top. And it looks like I'm moving it up and down, but it's really another dimension. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to align this face right here with this face. So I'm going to come back over to constrain, and I want this face and this face. I kind of glued them together, but I want them to be flush like that. So now they're side by side. I'm going to apply that constraint and then cancel. So now when I come over here, now I can see that these two things are kind of stuck together. They kind of move in unison. That is stuck to the top and it's stuck to the front face. And so there's only so many things I can do with this thing now. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make this surface to the inside surface of this front plate. I actually kind of want to, we're not welding it, but you're going to attach it. So I'm going to constrain this one more time. We constrain this face, and I can't really see that other face. I can't really get at it. Okay, this is the outside face, but I want the inside face. So I'm going to come over here to my model. I'm going to click the front of my model. I'm going to grab the side. I'm going to pivot it a little bit. And this is the inside face that I want. So I'm going to click these two things, and I wanted to make those two things together. So I'm going to hit apply and then cancel. I'm going to go back to my home menu, and now you can see that this part, if I click on this thing, these two things move in unison. Okay, this top part is flush with this top part, this front face is flush with this face, and now these two edges are glued together. So there are no more degrees of freedom. This top plate is attached to this other one. And you're going to keep on applying constraints like that until you have your whole box built. The next thing that I'll do, I'm going to constrain this top face to this top face. And they kind of glued them together. It mated them together. I want to put it flush. So now these are the same plane. I'm going to apply that. This time I want to mate this side to this other edge over here. So once again, I go to my cube. I can kind of rotate these things around so I can get the parts visible that I want. So now I've mated those two things together. I'm going to hit apply. Go back to my home view. So now this is glued to here, and these two things are parallel, but you can tell that I can still move this whole assembly along this way. So the last constraint that I need to do is make this face flush with this face. So go back to constrain, hit this face and this face. I want to make them flush. It brings them together, and I hit apply. Okay. So now I've got this top plate constrained between these two side plates. So I've kind of glued, and there's no glue involved, but I've put all these things together so that now this is one that's attached to the origin. These things are no longer movable because I've got enough constraints that they're impossible to move. So with this guy, you can do it however you want to. I'm going to kind of rotate the cube so I can get to the bottom side here on these two things. I'm going to constrain this face to be parallel with these guys. I want it to be flush. And then I want this face, so I'm going to apply that. And now I want this face and this face to also be flush. I'm going to cancel out of there. So now when I move this thing, this piece, this is the last movable piece, it stays in this plane along the bottom. You can see it moving in between there. And it also won't go this way. It's stuck in between there. So all I need to do now is glue one side of this to one side of that. So I'm going to constrain this face. Kind of got to grab a corner and move it over this way. I kind of need to see. that face right there. And we want to mate those two together. Okay, and apply, and I cancel. I'm going to go back to my home screen. You can now see that I've got this box all made. I can cancel out of that. It's kind of hard to see my original pieces unless I've got them highlighted. So we'll take advantage of this time to go up here to where it says View. I'm going to pick up my visual style. I'm going to do shaded with edges. I'm going to do that. Kind of draws little black edges around all my parts. Okay. So now's a great time to go ahead and save this assembly. I'm going to do Save As. The first time I save any of these things. And this is going to be the wheel mount. And I'm still in that same folder. So now I've got this assembly. And now you can go ahead and take a look at this. I can click over here on the right hand side and look at this and look through it. And I can see that that top plate does not get in the way of this hole at all. All right. And this is probably going to be the coolest thing right here about Inventor, is that if I come back to this side plate right here, I can come back to this part, and if I come in here to any of these sketches, if I come here to the second sketch, and I edit this thing, I can change this hole. We'll make this 2.5 inches. We're going to make it way bigger than it needs to be, and it's going to come really close up here to the top. And when I click Finish Sketch, it's going to update everything. Not only does it update this part, but when I come up here to the wheel mount, it's already updated that wheel mount. When I change one of the parts in the assembly, it goes ahead and changes the entire assembly. So now when I click on the right hand side, I can see that hole right there. That top plate is in the way of that hole. Now obviously I made the hole too big, but this is where you can look in your model and you can see problems that you're going to have ahead of time before you actually have to go in there and actually weld everything. So it's a huge time saver to draw this in CAD and look and kind of say, well, this isn't going to fit. We're either going to need a smaller hole, we're going to have to move this hole downward, and you can manipulate the parts and it'll affect the whole assembly. And that's really one of the huge advantages of designing things digitally. Okay, so we'll go ahead and stop this video, and in the next video we'll talk about putting dimensions on things and creating a drawing.